Have you ever sat alone at night, when the noise of the world finally disappears, and asked yourself a question so honest, so painfully real, that it almost scares you? Is this really all my life is ever going to be? Have you ever felt like no matter how hard you work, no matter how early you wake up, no matter how much pressure you carry, you are still somehow stuck in the same place? Maybe you're exhausted, not physically, but spiritually. Maybe you are tired of trying so hard only to feel invisible, tired of responsibilities, tired of setbacks, tired of watching other people seem to move forward while you feel trapped in survival mode. Maybe life has disappointed you so many times that dreaming big now feels dangerous, because hope, after enough pain, can start to feel like a risk. But what if I told you something that could change the way you see your struggle forever? What if your darkest season is not proof that life has abandoned you, but evidence that life is preparing you? What if the pain you are carrying right now is not your destruction, but your transformation? Today, I want to tell you the true story of a man who once slept on the floor of a public bathroom with his 2-year-old son in his arms. No house, no money, no powerful family, no financial degree, no certainty, no rescue. Just pain, pressure, and a promise. And yet that same man would rise from homelessness to become one of Wall Street's most respected stockbrokers, a millionaire, and living proof that your starting point does not determine your final destination. His name was Chris Gardner, and stay with me until the end. Because this story is not just about Chris Gardner. This story is about what becomes possible when a human being refuses to let pain have the final word. Before Chris Gardner ever fought poverty, before he fought homelessness, before he fought for a place on Wall Street, he first had to fight the invisible prison he was born into. Chris entered the world in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, not through doors of privilege, but through chaos. His childhood was marked by instability, fear, violence. His biological father was absent, his stepfather was abusive, and home, the one place that should have offered protection, often became a place of unpredictability. For many children, pain like that becomes identity. When dysfunction surrounds you early enough, it can quietly teach you dangerous lessons. This is normal. This is who I am. This is all I can become. And this is how cycles are born. Pain gets inherited. Brokenness gets repeated. Fear becomes legacy. But Chris Gardner did something extraordinary. Even as a young boy, surrounded by instability, he made a decision, a promise, a silent vow that would become one of the most powerful forces in his life. When I have children, they will know who their father is, and I will always be there. That promise mattered, because sometimes your future is not built by what you have, but by what you refuse to repeat. Chris did not know how difficult life would become. He did not know he would one day sleep in subway stations. He did not know he would fight through homelessness. He did not know about Wall Street, but he knew one thing: the pain stops here. And sometimes, one decision can change generations. As Chris grew older, like millions of people, he wanted something simple, a chance, not luxury, not fame, not status, just a real opportunity to build a better life. After serving in the Navy, Chris moved to San Francisco, hoping to create something greater than the life he came from. He found work selling portable bone density scanners. It was not glamorous. It was difficult. Every day required carrying expensive medical equipment from hospital to hospital, trying to persuade doctors to buy machines many didn't immediately value. He knocked on doors, made calls, faced rejection, kept pushing. Some days he made enough money to breathe. Many days he didn't. And slowly, pressure began closing in. Bills mounted. Income became unstable. Fear became routine. His relationship with the mother of his child began cracking under the relentless weight of financial uncertainty. Arguments became frequent. Stress became constant. And Chris entered one of the most emotionally exhausting places a human being can live, working harder and harder, but going nowhere. Have you ever felt that? Like you are giving life everything, and still losing ground? That was Chris. Every morning he got dressed. Every day he kept trying. Every night he asked himself, what if this is it? What if nothing ever changes? And that question destroys millions of dreams. Because when effort stops feeling meaningful, hopelessness begins. But then, life gave Chris one unexpected moment, a moment that looked small on the outside, but became massive on the inside. One afternoon, while walking through San Francisco's financial district, Chris saw something that made him stop. A man stepped out of a red Ferrari. Now, for most people, this would simply be a passing luxury. But for Chris, it became possibility, because sometimes one visible example can shatter invisible limitations. Chris did something rare. He did not just admire. He asked. He approached the man and said, "What do you do? And how do you do it?" The answer was simple. "I'm a stockbroker." That was it. No magic, no mystery, just clarity. And in that moment, Chris realized something life-changing. Success was not some distant fantasy reserved for extraordinary people. It was a path, a system, a world that someone had entered. And if someone else had done it, maybe he could too. This was not about the Ferrari. It was about freedom, possibility, expansion. For the first time, Chris saw a blueprint bigger than survival. And your life changes the moment your standards expand beyond your circumstances. That day, Chris stopped seeing himself only as a struggling salesman. He began imagining a different future. And often, transformation begins with imagination before it becomes reality. Chris pursued an internship at a prestigious brokerage firm. He had no Ivy League education, no financial pedigree, no influential network, but he had hunger. So he called relentlessly, showed up repeatedly, refused to disappear, and eventually, he got in. But there was a catch, a brutal one. The internship paid nothing. For 6 months, Chris would work full-time, study constantly, and compete against 19 other candidates for one permanent position. No paycheck, no guarantee, no safety net. Most people would call that reckless. Chris called it necessary. So he said yes, because sometimes the only way out is through uncertainty. But then life hit even harder. His relationship collapsed. His partner left. Bills overwhelmed him. Rent became impossible. And Chris Gardner was evicted. Just like that. No home, no stability, no backup. Now understand this clearly. Chris was not simply broke. He was homeless, with a child. This is where many people surrender. This is where dreams die quietly. Not because people lack potential, but because pressure convinces them survival is all they deserve. This is where fear says, be realistic. Stop dreaming. Just survive. But Chris had something stronger than fear. He had purpose. And purpose can make a human being endure what comfort never could. Then came the night that changed everything. One night, with nowhere left to go, Chris brought his little boy into a public subway station bathroom. He locked the door. He laid his son down on the floor. Cold tile, harsh light, no bed, no home, no certainty. Then someone outside tried to force the door open, and Chris, exhausted, broken, desperate, pressed his foot against that door with everything he had. Imagine that moment. A father using his body as the final barrier between his child and the brutality of reality. No audience, no applause, no guarantee, just responsibility, pain, love, and refusal. Tears rolled down his face. Not because he was weak, but because he was carrying more than most people could imagine. And there, on that bathroom floor, Chris Gardner made one of the most important decisions of his life. I will never be here again. That sentence changed everything. Because pain becomes power the moment you decide it will not be wasted. That bathroom was not just rock bottom. It was rebirth. Some people let pain define them. Others let pain refine them. Chris chose refinement. From that point forward, Chris moved differently. He was still homeless, still uncertain, still under pressure. But internally, he had changed. He became relentless. He studied on buses, memorized concepts between appointments, made more calls than anyone else, arrived early, stayed late, optimized every second. He understood something crucial. He was no longer competing for success. He was fighting for survival, while others had comfort. Chris had urgency, and urgency, when disciplined, becomes extraordinary. His co-workers saw determination. They did not see shelters. They did not see exhaustion. They did not see the private war he fought every single night. But that is how greatness often works. It is built in darkness, in hidden sacrifice, in unseen discipline, in moments when nobody applauds you, but you keep going anyway. Chris Gardner learned one of adulthood's hardest truths. No one is coming to save you. And once you truly accept that, your power changes, because when rescue is no longer expected, responsibility becomes liberation. This is where Chris Gardner's story becomes universal, because his life teaches something most people resist. The world does not owe you rescue, not because you suffered, not because life was unfair, not because you tried. This truth can feel harsh, but it can also set you free, because once you stop waiting for someone else to change your life, you reclaim the power to change it yourself. Chris stopped asking, "Why me?" and started asking, "What now?" That question changes everything. What now is power. What now is responsibility. What now is transformation. Victims wait, builders act. Chris became a builder. He focused not on what he lost, but on what he could still build. And that shift from blame to responsibility changed his destiny. After months of relentless sacrifice, Chris Gardner did what many thought was impossible. He passed. He earned the permanent position out of 20 candidates. The homeless father won. Think about that. A man sleeping in shelters outperformed people sleeping comfortably. Why? Because talent matters, but hunger matters too. Chris finally had income, a future, stability, but he did not stop there. He kept learning, kept climbing, kept growing. Then, in 1987, he did something even bolder. He founded Gardner Rich, his own brokerage firm. Pause there. A man who once had nowhere to sleep built a company managing millions. A man who once held shut a bathroom door became a man who opened doors for others. This is what happens when struggle becomes strategy. This is what happens when pain becomes fuel. This is what happens when someone refuses to let rock bottom become permanent. But perhaps the most powerful part of Chris Gardner's story is this. His greatest achievement was not becoming wealthy. It was becoming the father he promised to be. His son knew him. His son saw him stay. His son experienced presence, not abandonment. Chris did not just escape poverty. He broke a cycle, and maybe that is the deepest form of success. Not just changing your life, but changing what gets passed down. Because real greatness is not only about what you build, but about what pain ends with you. So if you feel trapped right now, if life feels heavy, if your dream feels distant, if you are standing in your own bathroom floor season, listen carefully. Chris Gardner's life teaches us 3 unforgettable lessons. Lesson 1. Start before you feel ready. Perfect conditions do not exist. If you wait for certainty, you may wait forever. Action creates momentum. Lesson 2. Protect your dream. Not everyone will understand your vision. Do not let small minds define your future. Lesson 3. Find a reason bigger than pain. Chris had his son. What do you have? What promise is strong enough to keep your foot against the door? Because when purpose becomes stronger than pain, you become unstoppable. So ask yourself, what door are you holding shut right now? What struggle are you facing? What cycle are you called to break? Because this pain, this season, this chapter does not have to be your ending. Chris Gardner once said, "The cavalry ain't coming. No one is coming." But maybe that is not tragedy. Maybe that is your power, because it means your future is still yours. You can rebuild, you can rise, you can become the person who changes everything. So hold the door. Hold it through fear. Hold it through exhaustion. Hold it through doubt. Because one day, you may realize the chapter that almost broke you was the exact chapter that built you. Your story is not over. Your life can still change. And tomorrow can absolutely be different, but only if tonight you decide this is not where your story ends.